Also, you might be wondering, Krish, why are your book hauls so few and far in between? Here's the answer. Hey everyone, it's Krisha from Third World Book Nerd. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, this is where we talk about books, reading, and the nerd life in the Philippines. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you like fantasy because today's video is gonna be a very Pabebe book haul featuring some fantasy books, so please stick around. Life lately has been super challenging. It's been in flux. There's so much changes going on. One thing that has kept me sane throughout all this are the fantasy books that we have here. There's just something about getting lost in a good fantasy book that helps me realize that, life is so much more than what we're currently facing right now. Like, sure, reality is samok, reality is kapoy, reality is full of challenges for everyone, but when you're super immersed in a good fantasy book, I feel like that helps you realize that there is beauty in the world and that life is still worth living. Char! Oh my god! Miss Universe advocacy na naman. Without further ado, let's just get right into the video. The first book that we have is very apt for this time of year. This was the first book that I finished for 2022. It is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. Cue VTR! As the ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke, January's scholar feels little different from the artifacts that decorate his sprawling mansion. I find it very hard to explain the 10,000 Doors of January. So actually, there are two stories occurring here. So one is of January's scholar. Her father is actually hired by Mr. Locke to go around the world and collect all of these strange artifacts. So since very dangerous and nature sa job sa father ni January, January is left under the care of that foster father in a way, and she grows up in this sprawling Vermont mansion among these artifacts. So January feels a little trapped. January discovers a storybook in the mansion, and it tells a very mysterious story about different doors being open. So murag na ay daghan doors daw to other worlds. And when that book and January's real life collide, that's where the real action begins in the 10,000 Doors of January. So in a way, it is a coming-of-age adventure. On another hand, it's a lush fantasy novel. In a way, more like story within a story within a story. So there's many stories within this story. So I know it's really hard to explain. I'm hardly making sense, but the point is this book is an ode to storytelling, and the author tells it very, very beautifully. Love the characters as well. They are selfish, they are weak, they have their own agenda, and there's a lot of great characters in this one as well, which I love. Sometimes in YA, the heroes or heroines, they are amazing right out of the gate. But here, January is very flawed. You really kind of see that January is a sheltered girl who is not used to adventure because she often gets tired. She makes the wrong decisions, but in the end of the day, she sees through them all, and that's what makes her the hero of the story in a way. At its core, The 10,000 Doors of January is a love letter to storytellers, to stories, and to adventurers. And if you love books like that, if you want to rekindle your love for telling, sharing, and discovering stories, I highly suggest this book. This is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow. The next book that we have is something very close to my heart. It's a favorite of mine as well. It is The Miracles of the Namiya General Store by Keigo Higashino. Now, if you've been hanging out with me here on the channel, you'd know that I have been talking about this book non-stop, even in my previous videos. So it's so satisfying to finally talk about this book and to hold this in my hands, because you know what? This book is very hard to find. When three delinquents hole up in an abandoned general store after their most recent robbery, to their great surprise, a letter drops through the mail slot in the store's shutter. These books are so hard to explain. I don't know why. The Miracles of the Namiya General Store is one of my favorite reads pag 2021. It's a story about three delinquents. So these are mga amateur robbers. They're not even very good robbers. So one night they botch up this job. So the job goes wrong and they have to run and hide. There's nowhere to hide except for this old general store in the suburbs. Now, it is midnight. They're hiding out. Everything's quiet. And then, to their great surprise, this letter comes through the slot sa door, which is creepy enough in itself. But the letter is asking for advice, right? The letter is asking for advice. The three idiots at this point, the three robbers who are very simple-minded, they find it in themselves to answer this letter. They're even more surprised that a response comes back instantly. So, may creeping element at the start of the Miracles of the Namiya General Store. There's just so many things that I love about this book. Number one, I love that si Keigo Higashino does not really write books like these. So he is more of a mystery thriller writer, but you can really see his whodunit chops pagsuwat niya ni Miracles of the Namiya General Store, because you really don't know what's gonna happen next and you keep on guessing kung how these stories are interconnected, because throughout the book you actually see stories of the people who have sent in letters to the Namiya General Store, and you know kung sa to ang mga advice nga gigive ni Mr. Namiya. Another thing that I love about this one is how everything is interconnected. The story almost plays to this kanang Asian drama trope nga red string of fate, where there are many stories and they are all interconnected, but you don't really know how until the very last part of the book. So that's one of the things that I really love about this one. Daghan kay kog moments nga nang limbaut akong balhibo, like where I got goosebumps, because you know, your brain is clicking things together as you go along the book. Nga kanang murag, oh my gosh, ang ani day sila moday ni ang relationship ani ni story A, ni story B, ni story C. So all throughout the book, you'll keep guessing kung how is this story related to the whole arc of the book. Like, what's the big picture? That's what you keep on guessing, and you don't really guess that until the very last part of the book, which I totally love. Aside from that, I really love the magical and the mundane moments here. You know naman, if you've been hanging out with me here on the channel, you know that I really love when magic is interspersed with normal daily mundane life, and this book does it for me. Like, it's a very ordinary thing in the middle of the suburbs. It's just a general store, a tindahan, a sari-sari store. But then, on that particular day, on that particular night, something magical happens, and it's just so fun to read. The book makes me think, you know, amidst this crazy world that we live in, it's full of samok, full of trouble. There are little pockets of magic, like the Namiya General Store, whether literally or figuratively. The book makes me believe in that, and I think that's awesome. So if you love a good story where the magic is hidden in everyday things, if you love interconnected stories like a red string of fate moment, if you love translated works, if you love Japanese fantasy, The Miracles of the Namiya General Store might be a good fit for you. So yeah, that's that. Also, you might be wondering, Krish, why are your book hauls so few and far in between? Here's the answer. I don't buy them all in one go. I buy them one by one over a course of a couple of months. So that's why it takes me a bit longer to do book haul videos, because number one, I don't have that kind of disposable income to burn on books in one go, okay? I feel like binge buying books does not really fit who I am anymore, because when I used to binge buy books, I ended up not liking them. Murag, I just bought it for buying sake. You know what I'm saying? Dili siya intentional, and I just ended up unhauling them. So I also feel like that's one of the surest ways to get to book burnout. Kay Mark, oh my gosh, I'm buying so much, but you're not really reading them. So another reason is I find it more fit sa akong budget if I buy just one book a month. It makes me conscious of the books that I read, and it makes book buying more intentional for me. Like, you know, I don't just buy books on a whim. I kind of like really think about what I want to introduce to my reading diet. Dili lang kay magpatakar ako og read of books. So yeah, that's why these book hauls are few and far in between, because I'm trying to be a boring, responsible adult. The next book that we have is also from a Japanese author, It's People from My Neighborhood by Hiromi Kawakami. In Kawakami's super short palm-of-the-hand stories, the world is never quite as it should be, but you won't want to leave. This book, this short book, is a collection of mini stories. Like, it's described as stories that you can fit in the palm of your hand. I also discovered that these stories were, I think, part of a weekly column magazine thing. So it's a collection of those stories that she wrote for that publication over the years. I don't know, I'm not sure if they're fantasy. They're more weird, quirky, strange, bizarre vignettes of life in this fictional neighborhood by Tita Hiromi. So the collection of stories here, they are loosely interconnected as well. So they can be read as a standalone, pero related sila sa other stories very loosely. So the stories here are so weird. I don't know if it's weird in a good way or a bad way. Mostly in a good way, I feel. Because whenever I read this, you know, it's so short, but I haven't actually finished this one because I keep on digesting kung unsa yung pasabot. I keep thinking and ruminating and digesting kung what is Hiromi Kawakami telling me? Like, tita, ano ang pasabot nito? Hindi ko alam. But it's an enjoyable mental exercise, I feel. I like how it's strange. I like how it's quirky. And I like how you don't really know the meaning of what she's telling you up front. But I like how it makes me think. I like to think, is this utter nonsense or is there wisdom in this? So I guess that's literature for you. It's short. I'm not really sure if you could call it sweet, but it's strange and weirdly compelling. If you want, like, take a mini mental break from the current affairs of the world and slip into a fantasy neighborhood with weird people who do weird things that you can't really explain, this might be a good book for you. So that's that. That is People from My Neighborhood by Hiromi Kawakami. So now we're down to the last two books on our pile. This one is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Every year, the people of the Protectorate leave a baby as an offering to the witch who lives in the forest to keep her from terrorizing the town. The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill is a middle-grade fantasy novel. So, in this story, we have a village who sacrifices babies to the witch in the forest para mahimo silang safe, to protect them from, like, whatever evil wiles the witch has. So every year they put a baby sa forest as a sacrifice. But they don't know that the witch is actually a good witch. So the witch actually rescues these babies and sends them to other sides of forest to families who will love and nurture these babies. One year she rescues a baby, but then accidentally feeds that baby Moonlight. So kanang baby na nanoon siya magical properties and magical powers. After reading Lalani of the Distant Sea, I now have a very soft spot for middle grade novels. I also saw this post on Twitter that said, nga, if you want to rekindle your love for reading, read middle grade or children's books. And that advice has worked so well for me. It started with Lalani of the Distant Sea. I love that one. It was whimsical, but it also dealt with very serious topics in a nice way. Nga kanang dili kayo siya grim dark. You know, it delivered the message, but also there's a sliver of hope at the end of the story. And I feel like, similar said si Girl Who Drank the Moon, Anna, I feel like it's just a wholesome tale. Kind of reminds me of Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. But as I said, I haven't read this book yet. I might be wrong, but I just feel like it's gonna be a great adventure. So yeah, The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Haven't read this one yet, but once I do, I'll tell you all about it. So that's all I can say about this book. The last one that we have is a recent purchase. I love it so much. It is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Piranesi lives in the house. Perhaps he always has. Then messages begin to appear, scratched out in chalk on the pavements. There is someone new in the house. But who are they and what do they want? This was super highly anticipated. A lot of people said good things about it. But I did not want to buy a hardcover copy of it. I don't know, maybe it's me. Di dyan ako bet ang hardcover books. I do not like hardcovers. So I have waited for so long for a paperback copy of this one. Came across Piranesi when I was looking for standalone fantasy novels, which if you can see, most of ang theme na to karon, all of these are actually standalone. And yeah, so that's how I came across this one. Honestly, I don't know what to expect from Piranesi. I don't know how the story goes. I don't really have a solid grasp on what it's about, but sa atong nakita karon, from what you can see from these book selections, they also were very hard to explain, and their blurbs were also very vague, and they have led me to some of the best books that I have read so far. So I am hoping, I am hoping that Susanna Clarke's Piranesi will do just the trick as well. I can't say anything more about it. That's all that I have for Susanna Clarke's Piranesi. Please wish me luck if you have read this one. Please let me know what you think about it, but no spoilers, please. I'm really excited to start digging in aning a book. So yeah, that's that. She's so pretty, right? Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Wish me luck. So yeah, that's it for today, you guys. 4 standalone fantasy books and 1 weird-ass book that I don't know kung unsa yung genre. But here we are. I got 4 of these from Fully Booked, and I got this one from a bookstore on Instagram called Bookstore in the Rye, so please check them out. If you're interested in getting these copies for yourself from Fully Booked, I am so happy to announce that I am also a Fully Booked affiliate now. Yay! So you can shop using my link. It's on the description below. No additional cost to you, but it will help support this channel as I get a small commish from every purchase. So thank you, Daan. Daghang salamat. Anyway, which of these books did you find most intriguing? Let me know in the comments below, and let's make chika. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribing to our channel, or maybe sharing this one to your friends, because you'll never know. Maybe they want to have fantasy book recommendations as well. So the more the merrier. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been Krisha from Third World Book Nerd, and I'll see you next time. Bye!